My story is inspired by This Is Not a Bench, a playful bench designed by spatial and furniture designer Jeff Boon. Located at the front of the Arts House Annex building, This Is Not a Bench is located in the perfect spot, as just as how the bench encourages the individual to think of new uses for the bench, the space it is at also has seen different uses over the last 200 years. How do I know this? Well, this is from evidence from an archaeological dig from the 1980s. Let me show you what they found. This is a map from more than 200 years ago. It reveals that the Arts House was built in 1826 for Scottish merchant John Maxwell. It was meant to be a private mansion. But after it was built, the British government said no private residence in this area, so they took the building and changed it into a order, a courthouse. The annex building was then used to house jurors and prisoners during the time, and this ran for more than 100 years. Then in 1939, the building became a simple warehouse. After World War II, the building became the Parliament House from the 1950s to the 1990s. You know, when I think about politics and being a Singapore Eurasian, I think of our second president, Benjamin Sheares. Did you know that before he became Singapore's second president, he was Singapore's top obstetrician gynecologist? And did you know that he was also the doctor in charge of my father's birth in 1951? Let me show you something. Medical forceps for delivering babies from 1951. You know, my grandmother shared the story of how she laid in bed in hospital in labor for more than 3 days. Thankfully, Dr. Sheares was on duty that day. He was making his rounds around the hospital when he saw my grandmother. He said, "Mrs. Aroozoo, you're still here?" So he did what any top obstetrician gynecologist would do. He used his medical forceps, and my father was born safely in 1951. Isn't he cute? In the 1960s, my father would return as a teenager to this same space where the Victoria Hall stands as well. There would be rock and roll concerts and pop concerts in the Victoria Hall. My father did not buy a ticket. Instead, he sneaked through the back door of the Victoria Hall and then squeezed through the crowd so he could get right to the front and almost reach out to his favorite band, the Crescendos. It was a very happy moment for him. You know, learning about all these different stories about the Civic District made me realize that there are so many different memories in these places. You too can build new memories at the Civic District by visiting the different benches that are part of the benchmarks projects that are along the Singapore River.